Hi, and welcome to another episode of Historical Markers. In this episode, we're actually going to look at Bragg Point, and there are many markers in this area, so we're going to take a look at all of the markers around this area. So I hope you enjoy this portion of Crest Road. Here's Williamson's Brigade, Osterhaus Division, Blair's Corps, Colonel James A. Williamson. Looks like a bunch of divisions from Iowa. This brigade reached Rossville from Lookout Mountain about 3 p.m. and moved through the gap with Wood's brigade of the same division on its right. Its left passing over the point of Missionary Ridge to the north of the gap, meeting no opposition. That portion of Clayton's brigade, which held the gap, having been forced back by Wood's brigade, the brigade then descended the eastern slope of the ridge and at the crossroads at its base turned north. After marching about 1,000 yards, the division was formed in line in echelon, Williams' brigade on the left and Wood's on the right. Charging obliquely toward the summit, the left became sharply engaged, but in conjunction with the advance of Crust's division along the crest of the ridge from Rossville Gap and Geary's division on the western slope, the Confederate left soon gave way. The brigade continued to the summit, capturing many prisoners, and at nightfall bivouacked in this vicinity. This is an Illinois marker for the 18th Division, 1st Brigade, 1st Division, 15th Corps, November 25th, 1863. This is the area in which they bivouacked. I see several stone markers here that I believe should probably have some information on them, but they just seem to be stone markers with nothing written on them on any side. Here's the first of the 6 markers. I can actually see the 32nd on this one, possibly says USA. That's pretty much all I can read on this one. Here's another one. I can make out the 18 at the bottom, but I have no idea what the other words would have been on this marker. And on this one, once again, it looks like I can make out the 1863, but I have no idea what the rest of the marker said. It is just all worn off too much. This one I can actually read the 186 and can almost make out the 3. So I'm sure it says November 25th, but I have no idea what the other words are. Same thing with this one. It appears there was writing on it, but it is worn away so much that I cannot read it. Okay, it appears there is writing on this. Unfortunately, I am unable to read it. Something like north of the something, USV, or US something. I'm just not able to read what this one says. This marker's for the Missionary Ridge School, Missionary Ridge History. Pictured are the student body and faculty of the Missionary Ridge School in 1915. Enrolled was 87 students, grades 1 through 8, taught by 2 teachers. The school was erected at a cost of $18,539. The Missionary Ridge High School apparently existed in 1896 near this location as a Hamilton County school. However, no photographs have ever been located. So you can see what the school looked like in the 1920s and the 1930s, and a picture of all the students in 1915. And then a picture in the 1960s. The school was closed in 1977 after 65 years. It was transferred from Chattanooga Public Schools to the city of Chattanooga. In 1978, the Missionary Ridge Elementary School became the first home of the Chattanooga Regional History Museum. It was relocated after 1 year and later became the Chattanooga History Center. Unfortunately, it burned in 1992. So right here is just west of the site of the former Missionary Ridge Elementary School. Here's the Illinois 44th Infantry, 1st Brigade, 2nd Division, 4th Corps, November 25th, 1863, 5 p.m. Here we have Osterhaus Division, Blair's Corps, Brigadier General Peter J. Osterhaus, November 25th, 1863, at 6 p.m. This division, being the head of General Hooker's column, reached Rossville from Lookout Mountain at 3 p.m. November 25th. It pushed through the gap, which was defended by a small force of infantry and artillery, and turned northward upon a road running parallel to and about 1,000 yards east of Missionary Ridge. After marching nearly a mile, the command formed in echelons of brigades. The 2nd Brigade on the left and the 1st on the right, they moved obliquely up the slope of Missionary Ridge and carried the crest. The command bivouacked on the eastern slope of the ridge in the vicinity of Bragg's headquarters, the enemy's line against which it had been operating in cooperation with Crufts and Geary's divisions was held by the division of Major General Stewart. This larger marker is for Missouri, to her 2nd and 15th Infantry, USA, who reached this position in the assault November 25th, 1863. Here's the Illinois 73rd Infantry, 1st Brigade, 2nd Division, 4th Corps, November 25th, 1863 at 5 p.m. Here's two signs that are side by side. This one is the Confederate Casualties. Killed 361, wounded 2,100 and something, missing 4,146, aggregate 6,667. And that's all the different divisions in which the people fought. And then right next to it is the Union Casualties in the Battle of Chattanooga. Officers 69, enlisted 684, wounded officers 393, enlisted 4,329, missing 27 officers and 322 enlisted, and a total of 5,824. This is the Illinois 36th Infantry, 1st Brigade, 2nd Division, 4th Corps, November 25th, 1863 at 5 p.m. This is Sheridan's division, Granger Corps, Major General Philip H. Sheridan, had 3 brigades. On the morning of November 25th, General Sheridan advanced his line to the right of and in prolongation of the line of Wood's division of Granger's Corps, which occupied Orchard Knob. Wagner's brigade was on the left, next to Wood. Harker's next on the right, each in 2 lines. Sherman held the right of the division, formed in 3 lines of 3 regiments each. The left of his brigade resting on the Moore Road, now Montgomery Avenue. At 3:15, the division moved forward in the general assault of the Army of the Cumberland, and upon the ridge carried the earthworks at its base, and halted there according to orders, but began almost immediately to ascend the slope in obedience to further orders from General Granger. The center of the division reached the crest at Bragg's headquarters on the face of very persistent opposition from Breckinridge's division, commanded by Brigadier General W.B. Bate. It continued to press at the retreating enemy toward Chickamauga Station until dark. Wood's Brigade, Osterhaus's Division, Blair's Corps, Brigadier General Charles R. Woods. Looks like several divisions from Illinois, Missouri, and Ohio. At 10:30 a.m., November 25th, this brigade marched from Lookout Mountain for Rossville as the head of Hooker's column. It was delayed about 3 hours at Chattanooga Creek by the burning of a bridge. About 4 p.m., assisted by Williamson's brigade on its left with the 27th Missouri as skirmishers, it forced its way through the gap, which was defended by a part of Clayton's brigade with 4 guns, and turned north along the eastern base of the ridge, finally charging obliquely to the summit, capturing many prisoners and bivouacking there. This was the headquarters of the Army of Tennessee, General Braxton Bragg commanding, November 23rd to 25th, 1863. Lists several names here. At and near this position, General Bragg directed the movements of his command during the Battle of November 23rd to 25th, 1863. This is the Illinois 42nd Infantry, 3rd Brigade, 2nd Division, 4th Corps, November 25th, 1863 at 5 p.m. Harker's Brigade, Sheridan's Division, Granger Corps. Looks like we had 5 from Illinois, 1 from Kentucky, 3 from Ohio. This brigade, the center of Sheridan's division, it's right on the Moore Road, Montgomery Avenue, advanced in the general assault in 2 lines with heavy skirmish lines. Colonel Walworth, 42nd Division, Illinois, commanding the right wing. Colonel Opdyke, 125th Ohio, the left. After carrying the rifle pits at the base of the ridge, held by strong skirmish lines, part of the line advancing on the slope was retired to the foot. It was soon ordered forward. The crest was carried along with a brigade front, 6 guns captured, and pursuit at once began. Here we have the Illinois 27th Infantry, 3rd Brigade, 2nd Division, 4th Corps, November 25th, 1863 at 5 p.m. The Battle of Missionary Ridge. On the morning of November 25, 1863, Major General Ulysses S. Grant's Union Army began its attack against General Braxton Bragg's Confederate, who occupied this ridge and the slopes below. After unsuccessful attacks on the northern end of the ridge and the slow march of Hooker's troops from the south, Grant ordered Major General George H. Thomas's troops in the center to seize the Confederate rifle pits at the base of the ridge. The Federals stormed the rifle pits, forcing the Confederates to retreat up the slopes in front of you. Then, without orders, the Federals swarmed up the slope in pursuit, swept over the crest, and routed the poorly positioned defenders. The outnumbered Confederates broke and fled down the slope behind you. Only darkness and the rearguard action of General Patrick R. Cleburne saved the Confederates from destruction. The Union victory here at Missionary Ridge left Chattanooga firmly in Union hands and set the stage for General Sherman's advance against Atlanta in the spring. And then they actually have a button here you can push if you want to hear some of General Braxton Bragg's orders. This marker is for the Illinois 79th Infantry, 3rd Brigade, 2nd Division, 4th Corps, November 25th, 1863 at 5 p.m. I have several cannons up here on the ridge. You can imagine them firing down at the people below. And this is Cobb's Kentucky Battery, 4 12-pounder Napoleons. Captain Robert Cobb's Artillery Battalion, Breckinridge's Bates Division, Breckinridge's Corps, Lieutenant Frank P. Gracie commanding. The battery was detached from the battalion on the morning of the 25th and occupied this position during the assault on the ridge by the enemy in the line of Adams' Brigade of Stewart's Division. The advance of the enemy in 2 and 3 lines, preceded by a double line of skirmishes in its immediate front, was the occasion for the opening of all the guns, first with shot and shell, and later with canister, till the enemy was among the guns of the left section, while the right half was still firing. The guns were captured where they stood by the brigades of Harker and Sherman of Sheridan's division. After the base of the ridge had been reached by the enemy, the guns could not be used with serious injury to the assaulting columns on account of the steepness and irregularities of the ridge. By special request of General Bragg, the guns were named Lady Buckner, Lady Breckinridge, Lady Lyon, and Lady Gracie. Casualties: men killed, 1, men wounded, 7, men missing, 3, guns lost, 4, caissons, 4, horses killed, 3. Then we have this huge monument to Illinois. It is really tall. There's the top. See, it says Illinois Let's back up so we can get a better view of it. Here we have a monument to the 97th Ohio Voluntary Infantry. And the words down at the bottom says, this regiment of Wagner's Brigade, Woods Division, was the first infantry to cross Tennessee River at and occupy Chattanooga September 9th, 1863. November 25th, 1863, and Sheridan's division charged Missionary Ridge, gaining the crest as shown by a bronze tablet north end of the viaduct, and pursuing the enemy to Chickamauga Creek. Loss 149 killed and wounded out of 434. Here's a marker for the 51st Infantry of Illinois, 3rd Brigade, 2nd Division, 4th Corps, November 25th, 1863, 5 p.m. Havis's Georgia Battery, 2 12-pounder Napoleons, 2 James rifles, Major Felix H. Robertson's Reserve Artillery, November 25th, 1863 at 4 p.m. The battery occupied this position during the assault on the ridge in the space between the left of Finley's brigade and of Breckinridge's division, commanded by General Bate, and the right of Adams' brigade of Stuart division. An incessant and destructive fire was kept up on the advancing line in the valley and along the slopes of the ridge until the enemy was within a few feet of the line on the crest, when General Bragg in person ordered the battery to retire to the next range of ridges where a new line was being formed. As the battery moved down and commenced the ascent of the next ridge, the Confederate line, which had been forced from its position on the main ridge, failed to rally on the second, and the battery was compelled to retire to the next range east, about 1,000 yards from the first position, where a final stand was made till ordered to retire after dark. Casualties: 2 Napoleon guns and a few men and horses. This markers for the 125th Ohio Infantry, Harker's Brigade, Sheridan's Division, 4th Corps, Captain Edward P. Bates, November 25th, 1863. Colonel Emerson Opdyke, colonel of this regiment, being assigned to the command of half of the brigade. Captain Bates was given command of his regiment. It took part with its brigade in the preliminary movement of November 23rd and in the assault on Missionary Ridge, reaching the crest in this vicinity and participating in the capture of guns near Bragg's headquarters. The regiment at once joined in the pursuit and became engaged in the next ridge to the east. During the night, it followed to Bird's Mill on the Chickamauga. Strength in action: 11 officers, 250 men. Casualties: killed 2 men, wounded 1 officer, 26 men, a total of 29. Here's the Illinois 22nd Infantry, 3rd Brigade, 2nd Division, 4th Corps, November 25th, 1865 at 5 p.m. The 65th Ohio Infantry, Harker's Brigade, Lieutenant Colonel W.A. Bullitt, 3rd Kentucky, November 25th, 1863, killed 1, wounded 13. This marker is the 64th Ohio Infantry, Harford's Brigade, Sheridan's Division, 4th Corps. Colonel Alexander McIlvaine, November 25th, 1863. The regiment took part with its brigade in the operations of the November 23rd and in the assault of the Missionary Ridge on the 25th, reaching the summit at this point. It immediately joined in the pursuit, advancing first to the next ridge on the east from which the enemy was driven, and subsequently during the night to Chickamauga River at Bird's Mill. From this latter point, it returned during the afternoon on the 26th. Casualties: killed 1 officer, 1 man, wounded 5 officers, 25 men, for a total of 32. Just below the ridge we were just on is Massenburg's Georgia Battery. Had 2 12-pounder Napoleons, 2 10-pounder Parrots, Major Felix H. Robertson's reserve artillery. During the Union attack on the ridge, the battery occupied this position in the line of Finley's brigade of Breckinridge's division. It kept up a continual and effective fire, aiding and holding the enemy in check in their front till the ridge was carried just north of Bird's Mill Road, when the battery was ordered in that direction at a gallop to sustain Reynolds' brigade in its effort to restore the line that had been broken. Reynolds failed to restore the break in the line and abandoned the effort before the battery could get into position. In endeavoring to get away, several horses were shot and the guns abandoned in the ravine northeast of this position. The casualties were 4 guns and a few men and horses. This was for the 97th Ohio Infantry, Wagner's Brigade, Sheridan's Division, 4th Corps, Lieutenant Colonel Milton Barnes, November 25, 1863. The regiment participated in the advance of the 23rd November on the enemy's central line with its brigade in the storming of Missionary Ridge, reaching the summit to the left of General Bragg's headquarters, capturing 150 prisoners, and immediately marching in pursuit of the enemy. On the Bird's Mill Road, it took part in dislodging the enemy's rear guard from the next ridge to the east. Strength in action: 23 officers, 411 men. Casualties: killed were 16 men, wounded were 9 officers, 124 men, for a total of 149. And the next marker was Reynolds' Brigade, Buckner's Division. On the morning of November 23rd, the brigade was with its division at Chickamauga Station, ready to leave by train for Knoxville, when it was recalled by order of General Bragg and placed in the trenches at the western base of Missionary Ridge in front of Breckinridge's division. With its left resting on Moore's Road and its right on Bird's Mill Road, the brigade retreated to the crest of the ridge upon the advance of the Army of the Cumberland on the afternoon of November 25th and retreated to and across the Chickamauga. So this was another episode of Historical Markers. I hope you enjoyed this episode in this area on Crest Road. There's still many more markers on Crest Road to come. So like, subscribe, and leave us notes and tell us what you enjoyed about these episodes.